Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and we're getting an update today from Forum Energy Metals. Forum is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker FMC and on the OTCQB under the ticker FDCFF. And I'm joined today with the CEO of Forum Energy Metals, Rick Mazur. And Rick, always great to have you on the show to get an update on Forum. Now, you put out a press release this morning that I thought it'd be nice to respond to and just bring listeners up to date on what the company is doing on a couple of different things. It has some parts in there on the drilling you've already done, the drilling that's yet to release to the market from this year's program. But you did put a section on here about the recent capital raise you did. On the 16th of December, you had announced that you're raising $1,250,000, and this is a combination of shares and flow-through units. I think this was because you have your number one and number two largest strategic investors that wanted to get a bigger piece of the pie and wanted to add to their positions. So let's just kick it off there, Rick. As far as Forum, you raised a little bit of money. I don't know that it was quite understood correctly in the marketplace. Some people saw this just as a lights on, desperation move, but that's not really the case at all. So I'd love you just to respond to people listening that maybe had a question about why you did this capital raise, of what the intention was behind it and how you're going to use the funds.
Hey, Shad. Well, thanks again for having me on your show. Shad, the first thing is that, boy, the assays took a long time to come. Holy cow. There's just been so much uranium exploration activity. The labs are backed up. So our game plan all along was to get all the results out and let the market know exactly what we have. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. We've only got 11 holes out of the 30 in total. So Shad, we've got to get out there and we've got to start procuring things to get ready for a 2025 drill program on our Aberdeen Uranium Project right now. And so we went to two of our largest shareholders, the strategic, that unfortunately I can't say who that is under an NDA, that owns 9.9% of the company, wanted to top up. And one of our largest flow-through funds that has supported us for well over 10 years and holds a very large position in our company, to ask them if they would give us continued support. And they said, sure, well, give us a small flow-through fundraising there, which has to go into the ground. And that's going to go into procurement and mobilization of supplies for a 2025 drill program. So that's the reason for the two strategic investor financings that we did right now. And I might say at a premium, because the stock had gone down to 6.5, 7 cents, and we did that financing at 8 cents and 10 cents.
Yeah, Rick, it was nice to see it at a premium to the market. And this was just so you could get some of those early lead items going on the ground for next year's drill program.
Absolutely.
Let's focus in on this year's drill program. I know you're still waiting on assays, and that always is frustrating to wait for the labs, but that's just part of the nature of the beast. But you have put out 11 holes so far, and we had Rebecca on the show last month and talked about some of them. But for people that maybe missed that or haven't stayed up to speed, give us a quick synopsis of some of the 11 holes that you have released so far at Tatiggaq.
Yeah, we put that news out at the end of November when we finally got the first set of results from the main and west zones, which, by the way, is a deposit discovery. I think one of the things that the market is missing is that when Rebecca worked at Cameco, she already has 38 drill holes in it from her Cameco days. So this program was established to do a little bit of infill and to do some extension drilling. So I think the market's kind of missed that aspect of the results that we reported. So 11 holes, 7 of them hit mineralization, which showed continuity in the deposit.
Well, Rick, let's dig into that idea a little bit more, because when I personally talk with folks about Forum Energy and that I'm excited to see what you're doing in the Thelon Basin, several people have mentioned to me, well, I'm just waiting for them to make a discovery. But to the point you just made, there's already been a discovery made at Tatiggaq. There was 38 holes put in by Cameco. You guys had a great hole last year in 2023 that you put out to the market. I remember being at Beaver Creek in 2023 and talking to you about it there. And then you put out 11 more holes here. So this is not trying to make a discovery at Tatiggaq. This is, you already have a discovery at Tatiggaq, and like you say, you're doing extension holes and kind of infilling some of the other holes. So maybe just speak to that aspect, but that you also have legitimate new targets you're going after, like Ned and like Ira and Loki. So there's a multiple targets that you're going after where you are trying to make a new discovery, but Tatiggaq's not one of them. Tatiggaq is a known entity, and now you're just building upon what you've learned.
Yeah, this is not a greenfields exploration project, Shad. We've already made a discovery at Tatiggaq. Well, Cameco had made the discovery at Tatiggaq. Rebecca joined Forum to finish off what she started and seeing just how big that discovery is. So, yeah, we have a discovery there. We have a very large land position, almost 100,000 hectares. That's a huge property. Rebecca's work at Cameco and Forum's work in the last couple of years has identified over 50 targets yet to drill. So that's the greenfields part. And the greenfields part of this project is we're looking for perhaps a much larger deposit than what Orano already has at Kigavik by searching for an unconformity type deposit at the sandstone basement contact, very similar to the Athabasca Basin, like MacArthur River or Cigar Lake, where some of those really big deposits occurred. As Rebecca's pointed out, no one's really drilled for something like that, but we are, and I think that's the beauty of this project, and that's the excitement behind this project that we'll demonstrate with the next drill campaign, hopefully.
Well, and Rick, you still have 19 holes left to report from this year's program, so it's not like you've released all of the data yet. Now, you did put in a couple of holes at Kavik. I'd love you to talk about that target in specific, but also you put in a couple holes at Ned, Ira, and Loki. So you are already out testing some of the thesis here, and it's hard to make an unconformity deposit in the Athabasca Basin or in the Thelon Basin. But talk to us about some of the holes, the 19 holes that you still have to put out to the market once you get the assays back.
Yeah, good point, Shad. So one of the other things we wanted to do was test some parallel structures within the very large Tatiggaq anomaly. We put 9 holes into the Tatiggaq anomaly on those structures, and we're waiting for results there. There's one area that we think has the makings of perhaps a parallel mineralized structure. We just want to see what the results are like. Yeah, and then we haven't even talked about Kavik. I mean, we had press releases when we first acquired the project back in 2021 talking about the Tatiggaq and Kavik discoveries by Cameco. So Rebecca has, I think, something like 25 holes already into Kavik from the Cameco days. So again, that's another discovery. It just needs to be infilled and extended. So we did poke just 2 holes into that deposit this year, and those results will be coming out in the new year. And then with the limited time and budget that we had last year, we put holes into 3 targets for one of these sandstone basement unconformity type targets. And the rocks look amazing. We're just waiting for some geochemical results to demonstrate that this is something very similar to what we can see down in the Athabasca Basin.
Well, and those 3 targets were, as alluded to, Ned, Ira, and Loki. But you
Yes.
mentioned that there's a lot of these targets. So, there's so many targets like that you could go after. Maybe just give us a sense of how impressive the land package is and how many other targets you already have.
Yeah, well, it's a blessing and a curse in that regard. So many good targets there to assess. So we have to focus on some of them, and that's what Rebecca and her team are doing with compiling all the Cameco results from the past, compiling the work that her and her team has done from the drilling this year, the gravity survey work that was done this year, which identified more targets. So no lack of targets. We just need to prioritize. And I think our game plan for 2025 will be to continue with one drill, building resources as we've done with Tatiggaq. We'll see if we focus on Kavik next year to show how big that can be. And then one drill to start demonstrating the blue sky potential of this property. That's something that we're looking at doing for the 2025 drill campaign.
All right, so a nice mix there of one drill building resources at Tatiggaq and at Kavik, and the other drill testing some of the many targets you have, looking for one of those unconformity style deposits that can really beef up quickly because of the higher grades. So maybe also just talk about the grade, Rick, because I think some people, I saw some comments saying that the 1% over 2.4 meters wasn't as high of grade as they were expecting. But I don't think they have the context of what your neighbors have at Orano at Kikavik as far as what the average grades are. And really, in the Athabasca Basin, it's the same thing. There's a lot of projects that have between 0.5% and 1%. So maybe just talk about the grade for people that misunderstood that and the style of deposit that Tatiggaq is.
Yeah, well, Orano's Kikavik deposits, there's three of them, are basement-hosted deposits. And as you pointed out, basement-hosted deposits can range anywhere from, in the Athabasca, from 0.5% to 1.5%. And that's the kind of the tenor of mineralization that Kikavik is. The basement deposits, on average, grade about the resource estimate there, historical, is 127 million pounds at 0.55% uranium, which is 11 pounds of uranium per ton of rock. 11 times, let's say, $100 uranium is $1,100 rock. That's near surface. All of our targets are near surface, under 200 meters, just like Kikavik. So mining $1,100 a ton rock by open pit is going to be very, very profitable. So that's the exploration model for the basement hosted targets. Now, the blue sky part of our plan is to test these sandstone covered targets that have been identified to see if we can't find the really high grade, better than 1% deposits at the unconformity. That's the game plan.
Yeah, I appreciate you breaking that down, Rick. So, I mean, just for people, just to reiterate what we just said, 1.15% that you had just from the first set of 11 holes is double what they have next door at Orano just on that grade. Now, that's not the average grade of every single hole, but just to point out, you're finding higher grades. And to your point, if 0.55% uranium can be very economic in an open pit scenario that's shallow near surface, I think that's the way people need to frame the coming drill results from Tatiggaq and even from Kavik. And then, like you say, those other blue sky targets that have the potential to have multi-percent grades of uranium, that's the prize you're going after for some of those unconformity targets. So you got a mix of both types that you're going after as far as some of this drilling. And again, 19 holes still left to report. I guess, Rick, just as we wrap up, what would you like to leave investors with as a thought about how to look ahead to the drilling that's come, the drilling that's already happened, and then as you're setting up for 2025, anything else you want to leave investors with as far as a key takeaway about Forum Energy Metals?
Well, yeah, I mean, the flagship is our Aberdeen Uranium Project in Nunavut. Results yet to come in the new year. And at the same time, we have 9 projects in the Athabasca Basin, all of them drill ready. One of those projects, our Northwest Athabasca Joint Venture Project, is under option to a small junior, Global Uranium Corp, that will be funding a drill program this winter. So we're just going through the permitting and First Nations engagement phases, and we're making great headway there. We hope to be drilling at our Northwest Athabasca project this winter. So there'll be drill results funded by our partner. Forum will be the operator because they recognize that we have the exploration team that really understands these unconformity deposits. with Rebecca and her team, and is the best use of their funds is to utilize us. So we're going to be operating the project. So we're going to be drilling this winter in the Athabasca Basin, hopefully. So lots of news to come over the winter. Then we're going to be starting up drilling in Nunavut in the summer. So 2025 is going to be a very busy year for Forum Energy Metals.
All right, Rick. Well, we'll wrap it up there for today. But yeah, a lot of news on tap from this year's program still to release in the new year, then the winter drilling in the Athabasca Basin, and then more summer drilling back in the Thelon Basin at the Aberdeen Project. So a lot on the go for Forum in 2025, and we'll keep following along with all of it here at the KE Report. If you're listening in and you'd like to follow along, definitely click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the Forum Energy Metals website, straight to their news section where you can sign up for updates or just follow along with the news as it's released to the market. And Rick, we'll get you back on when there's an update. Keep us posted, and always looking forward to our next conversation.
Hey, Shad, thanks a lot for the opportunity.